Welcome to the Alexandra Wenman Show. In our series on crystals, today I want to talk to you about how to connect to Lemurian star quartz crystals or Lemurian seed, also known as Lemurian starseed crystals. This crystal is very, very, very powerful and very special, and it has a very special meaning for our planet in this day and age. Now, the Lemurian seed crystals are a type of quartz crystal. They're very connected to a group of people that we call on this planet starseeds, people who have come to pave the way for the new evolution on our Earth. A lot of people are very aware that we're moving from a third dimensional 3D consciousness into a fifth dimensional consciousness. Now this means we're moving from the idea that we're all separate into this idea of unity consciousness or oneness, and this is all through the energy of love. We're essentially raising the vibration on the planet. Now, Lemurian seed crystals were first discovered in this day and age only in 1999, and they were discovered in Brazil. They're different to a normal quartz crystal in that some of them will have like a pink hue, sometimes they can have a bluish hue, and they are known by a sort of laddering effect. I don't know if you can see the detail. Sometimes they will look like they have striations on the side, like a laddering effect. And they almost remind me of the quality of ice in a way. Sometimes they can be have a slightly misty type quality to them. But when you hold the energy of a Lemurian seed crystal, you're actually able to tap into your soul record, or what we call your Akashic record. So accessing your Akashic records with the Lemurian quartz crystals is a really amazing way to connect with these crystals. But just holding one will actually raise your vibration. It can actually activate your Merkaba, or what we call your light body, by connecting with these crystals in conscious awareness. And just by beaming love into the crystal, as I've shown you in previous videos, just by connecting through your heart space to the crystal, you are actually able to tap into the ancient memory that is held in your DNA at a cellular level of an ancient civilization that was said to be on this earth around 12 million years ago. And this is the ancient civilization of Lemuria. Now, it's said in Lemuria that human beings weren't actually 3D physical beings like this. We were more etheric, a little bit more angelic. So we had abilities, we could bilocate, we were telepathic, we had really amazing gifts and qualities. And this was said to be the original blueprint for humanity. And the Lemurian starseed crystal actually holds this fifth dimensional frequency. It's actually like it was put in place exactly so that it could be found at this time on the planet, to remind us of this unity consciousness, to remind us that we are meant to be living lives of love. We're not meant to be in this us and them mentality. We're not meant to be at war with each other. We're not meant to be living lives of fear. We're actually meant to be remembering that we're all beings of divine love, and we're actually not separate from the divine. We're not separate from God. We all hold a spark of the divine within us. We all have it, no matter how good or bad we think we are. That is just a byproduct of this duality consciousness that we're living out on the earth plane at the moment. So if we think about the texture of the Lemurian seed, the Lemurian starseed crystal, and the beautiful striations that are a bit like a ladder, or the grooves going up, you could think of this crystal as being a little bit like the representative of the stairway to heaven, the stairway to our higher consciousness. And this crystal will allow you to access what we call our multi-dimensional self, our divine self, which is limitless. And we're not limited to this 3D body, this 3D vessel. When you meditate with a Lemurian seed crystal, you can actually ask to be taken into your Akashic record, to be shown all of your lifetimes, to be shown who you are at a soul level, and to raise your frequency to that level, to that love consciousness, that unity consciousness, and that oneness. That could come through as a feeling. If you're quite visual or you're quite clairaudient, you might be given a message to do with it. And each individual crystal is really, really unique. They actually, these crystals, if you're meant to have one, they tend to find you. I now have 4 of these Lemurian seed crystals, and they're all incredibly different. This one's my biggest one. To me, this is a bit like a master crystal, but it is, this particular crystal, it's known as a record keeper. And if you could see, if you can look in the side of it, you might see that inside the crystal is a bit of a pyramid shape. It almost looks like a 3D pyramid. If you look into the inside, it's almost diamond shaped, actually. Now this is a record keeper crystal, is quite a rare formation that happens in a crystal, but these crystals are very powerful indeed, and they do hold ancient memory, ancient record, and they will come to people who are, I suppose, are themselves in a way record keepers. I'm very clairvoyant, I'm a channel, and I'm often given information about ancient wisdom. I have a healing system called Precious Wisdom, which works on unlocking the ancient wisdom that was taught in a lot of the ancient mythologies, the ancient spiritual teachings throughout the world and the planet. Now, after this crystal came to me, I was called in a message, in a vision, to Easter Island. I didn't know what Easter Island necessarily was or what it represented, but I woke up one morning with this word going around in my brain, and I was sleeping with this crystal next to my bed at the time, and I kept hearing Rapa Nui, Rapa Nui, Rapa Nui, Rapa Nui, like an alarm clock going off in my head. And I thought, what on earth is Rapa Nui? And I thought, oh, it sounds Maori, it sounds like New Zealand. And I thought, well, maybe I've got to go to New Zealand. But something made me Google Rapa Nui, and Rapa Nui is actually the indigenous name for Easter Island. And I had no idea, I didn't really know anything about Easter Island at the time, but I soon discovered that it was the island with all the big ancient megalithic heads, giant heads. And while I was kind of tuning into the information on Easter Island, I thought something about this feels very Lemurian to me. And I also got a link to the Pleiades star system. Now, both these civilizations were very fifth dimensional, and the Pleiadians and the Lemurians are very closely connected because they work on that fifth dimensional level. Some people even believe that the Lemurians were originally from the Pleiades star cluster. They're a little bit like our earthly cousins. I had no idea how I was going to get to Easter Island. I didn't really have the money to get myself there. I just kind of said, okay, well, if I'm meant to go there, then let's see what happens. And 6 months later, my husband and I were deciding where to go on our honeymoon, and out of the blue he says, what about Easter Island? And I nearly fell off my chair. So I ended up in Easter Island, and shortly after I arrived home from the trip to Easter Island, where I was doing a lot of channeling to do with Lemuria, I have notebooks of information around it, a lot of it kind of personal information about my work. But I got back, and shortly after I arrived back from that trip to Easter Island in South America, I had an incredible experience of a past life during regression that I had in Mu. Well, it was called Mu, but it is the civilization connected to Lemuria. And it's amazing because in that regression experience, which was in a controlled past life regression session with my good friend Lorraine Blahety, I could experience myself as a very etheric being, a being of light. I was able to walk through rock. There were no buildings as such. It was like light was our only sustenance. But we were also aquatic, and so I could go into the water, and then the texture of my body sort of became a bit like a jellyfish, or I think a bit like the proverbial mermaid. I think it was the original mermaid because it would go kind of more viscous, like the connection with the water sort of had an alchemical effect to make the body more dense while it was in water. Absolutely incredible. And I believe that this ancient memory surfaced because I had been to the area where perhaps I had originally lived in that lifetime on Mu in Lemuria, And this crystal, I think, was what unlocked it. This record keeper was perhaps holding information that, or was holding the energy that was meant to help me access that information at the right time, to remember that fifth dimensional self, and to remember the feeling of what it felt like to live on Earth in a time of peace. It was a utopian world. There was no need for wanting for anything. Everybody was telepathic, so you couldn't lie to people because they could actually read your thoughts. So it was total unity consciousness, everyone kind of giving and receiving in perfect flow with each other. Really beautiful image. And when we access these things, some people might not be comfortable with past lives, but whenever we access these kind of thoughts or these memories, whether you are tapping into your own past life, whether you're tapping into the collective consciousness, or whether you just want to see it as a metaphor to help you unravel anything that's causing you to be stuck or blocked in your daily life, it's still a very valid tool to help you go in, heal the parts of you that feel stuck, that feel blocked, that feel separate, that feel that separate consciousness. It can help you to actually go into, as we've said, deeper levels of self-love to start to unravel any stuck or trapped emotions. So Lemurian starseed crystal is a really beautiful crystal to work with to help you access higher consciousness, your Akashic record, to help you remember who you are, because the time is now on our planet for us to return to love. Thank you.